Hello, welcome to our the next episode of our Dream to Rise podcast. And we have a guest whom I met at the in Toronto. Both of us attended the America in Mississauga, Toronto, Canada. And it's always great to connect with such amazing speakers. And I'm just inspired by her story, especially what made her what made her um, take that shift or make that decision to to rise up and evolve and doing what she's doing right now, impacting other people. Now, our guest speaker is about 5 years into her second position as a pastor. Then, on staff in a large congregation, the new senior pastor allowed her to choose either resign or be fired. Both choices left her feeling like a failure, ashamed, and not good enough. Once she realized that her worth was a gift from God and not dependent on other people, she went on to serve for 12 years in a team ministry with her husband, mentored 14 seminary students, hosted a weekly live radio show and podcast for 5.5 years, and now has a new podcast called The Tilted Halo. Now retired from parish ministry, she works with women of faith in leadership, helping them learn to own and share their story, including the painful parts, practice gratitude in their personal lives, and incorporate gratitude practices into their business, congregation, or organization. Gratitude and the happiness that flows from it are contagious, I agree, making them wonderful gifts to spread and share. So, without further ado, let us welcome Pastor Kathleen Panning. Hello, good morning, Pastor Kathleen. How should I
Well,
call you?
you can call me Kathleen, Pastor Kathleen, whichever is comfortable for you.
Okay, so that it's just a little bit shorter.
Yeah, I agree.
But of course, my respect for you is always here. Okay, so I would just like it's really an honor to have you here in our Dream to Rise podcast, and I would like our listeners. I'm sure our listeners will be inspired and empowered by your story. So to start, probably will you be able to share with us your story? How and then about yourself and what brought you to where you are right now?
Yeah. Oh, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here, Cynthia. And it that conference in Toronto was awesome. I met you and a lot of other wonderful, wonderful women there. So it's wonderful to be able to connect nationally and internationally with other people. And
Yeah,
there's
good.
always good people.
Oh
Always, always.
yes. Oh
So
yes. All
thank
beautiful
you.
souls.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you for this opportunity.
You're
As
welcome.
my bio describes, I am a pastor,
Mhm.
and I started out in ministry serving two small rural congregations in the United States in Wisconsin. And after about 7.5 years there, I got a position at this much larger congregation. There were five full-time pastors there. And so in that time, it was basically like a small megachurch. And going from two small congregations to something that big was a huge, huge leap for me and a great opportunity. They had every single week, one of their worship services was broadcast live, at least part of it, on local television. I mean, they had two huge studio quality cameras in the sanctuary doing this. So some people joked in the family that I was a tele preacher. at that point. But I only preached a couple of times a year because there was a lead pastor who did all the preaching, or the vast majority of it. So about 4 years into my time there, the senior pastor, who had been there for almost 30 years, retired. And I knew that when I came there that he would be retiring. Um, and after a few months, like a big corporation, they found somebody new to come in and take that position. And this was somebody I had heard about and read about. He published author, and I was thinking, great, this will be a great person to lead the congregation. After several months, he invited me into his office, which was part of the what you read for the bio. And he gave me that choice to either resign or be fired. And I was totally flabbergasted. I was not expecting that. Have, there was nothing in my past that came anywhere close to that kind of a choice. I can't even remember failing a class in school. I'm I'm not a straight A student, but I was a good student, and I can't even remember failing a test, to be honest with you. And so to be told you're out of here one way or the other was like a great big F to me for failure. Uh, and I felt like I had failed that pastor in his estimation, the congregation, myself, obviously. To me, that was obvious, my family. And I felt like I'd even failed God at that point. Why was I being pushed out of this place? And I was so devastated. I was teetering on the brink of quitting ministry altogether. The only thing is I didn't have any plan B. I had no idea or thought about what else I might want to do. And the denomination I'm part of, I couldn't just go out and hand out my resume and say, here I am, hire me. That's not their process. So I knew it would take 6 months, a year or more before I could even get another position as a pastor. And so it was kind of like, okay, what do I do now? Who am I? And I was hurting. I was angry. I was probably somewhat depressed. And all of those different things going on inside of me. And it was maybe a month or so after I left the congregation that a dear friend came to me one day and handed me a book and said, I had to read it. And I looked at the title, and if it had come from anybody else, I would have thought it was a cruel joke, because the title is Happiness is a Choice. I didn't feel the least bit happy, and I didn't think I had any choice to be happy in the midst of the situation. But because this was a dear friend and I trusted her, I started to read the book. And it's about what the author calls 5 or 6 shortcuts to happiness. And I got to number 5, and it's about being grateful. And I read a little portion at the very beginning of that chapter, and I'd like to share it with you. The author of the book is Barry Neil Kaufman, and that's Kaufman. And he writes this, and I'm quoting, when we are happy, we are truly grateful. The reverse also holds true. When we are grateful, we are truly happy. In fact, oftentimes I call gratitude the sweetest way to embrace happiness. We can cut through all the misery by turning our attention to being grateful. In spite of all the catastrophes that might happen, we can find in little and big ways bottomless well springs for our thankfulness. Gratitude then becomes the shortest of shortcuts to happiness. End quote. And this is from his original hardback version on page 187. And I read that and I thought, oh, yeah, sure, right. Happiness, being grateful. And I was thinking, what in the world do I have to be grateful for? I didn't have a job, didn't have prospects for one. all of these things were falling apart on me. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. And so it took me probably a couple of days to come up with one thing that I was grateful for.
Oh.
One. I didn't become instantly happy. It wasn't a magic switch. It was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's nice, one thing. Great. That hasn't changed my economic situation, hasn't got me a job, hasn't changed much of anything. So I said, all right, we'll try for another one. And it took me a while. I came up with a second thing. And then I slowly started coming up with a few more. And I realized that the more I looked, the more there was to be grateful for. And slowly, it wasn't a magic switch or instantaneous, but I began to change inside. And how I saw the world began to change. Instead of seeing everything as falling apart and as a failure, I began to see some possibilities. And there was some hope that returned to me. And my attitude changed a lot. Um, I still didn't have a job, but it wasn't too long after that. It was maybe 3 months in or so that I was offered a temporary position as a chaplain at a long-term care facility, a large one. And so I had some income at that point and things like that. And new ideas and possibilities came into being. I can't say that I've practiced gratitude really well every moment since then, but it has become much more a part of my thinking and a part of my life. And there was a time where um, my husband, who is also a pastor, was serving in a congregation over 1,000 miles away from me. And so we were separated by distance for at least 5 years.
Oh.
And I was lonely and things like that. And I started keeping a gratitude journal. Uh, and at first, it was, again, a challenge to find 3 things to be grateful for each day. And I had to think pretty hard for the first couple of days. But then I had a small notebook that I had for this, and um, I started to notice the list was getting a little longer
Mhm.
each day. And pretty soon it was filling a whole page and sometimes more than a page. And sometimes it was more than 2 pages. So that the reality that he says in the book, you know, there's always something, a whole wellspring, in spite of the circumstances around us, of things to be grateful for. Even in the midst of illness and trauma and heartbreak and all of those other things, there's so much to be grateful for. And going back to leaving that congregation under those circumstances, um, like you read in the bio, I went on to get married to my husband, who I was not married when I left that congregation. And we served together for 12 fulfilling years in a team ministry. I've mentored 14 seminary students through 2 years each of the theological education. And then, without any thought, or I wasn't seeking it, but the opportunity came to me to be host of my own radio show. And I did that kind of temporarily, but it turned into a 5.5 year gig of doing that, weekly
Mhm.
show that reached more than 25 countries across 6 continents. So, and it's gotten me connected with people in Africa and a lot of people in the United States as well. And I interviewed some of the most wonderful people on that show, um, from Australia, from Germany, Wales, England, a number of different places. So it's been a remarkable journey that I would never have predicted on that day when the pastor said, you got a choice. You're leaving. You got a choice of how you're going to do that, but you're leaving here, and feeling like a total failure.
That's terrible, right? That's terrible. And imagine it was because of focusing on your gratitude. What are you
Mm,
grateful for?
yeah.
Led you to this one,
Hmm.
led you to what you're doing, led you to a new job, led you to a different kind of vibration that it's very positive compared
Hmm.
before. And
Right.
yes, it takes practice to become a habit. And when it
Hmm.
becomes a habit, it's automatic now. When you just leave the house, go for a walk, you'll see the beautiful nature that you're
Hmm.
grateful for because that was given to us by God. And
Right.
that's what I always ask my clients as well. When they're always down, what you give me a list down at least five to 10 things that you're grateful for.
Right.
It may not be grand. It may not be a large sum of money that you receive or a car or what, but the small things that we tend to forget,
Right.
those are for me, those are big things already. It
Yes,
makes
they
a
are.
difference.
It can be, a smile from somebody
Mhm.
in a clerk in a store,
Yeah,
uh, somebody who lets you in traffic,
yeah.
uh, you know, uh, like you said, the small things. I walk most mornings, and a bird I see, or a
Mhm,
flower,
mhm,
um, type of thing. And noticing, like you said, those small things changes the way we see the rest of the bigger things.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And I even posted, what's this? I did a live video the other day. Do you think everything happens, or a lot of things happens for a reason? And I don't know what's your perception, or how do you perceive that?
That's a tough question because, when bad things happen, it might be a serious accident, an illness, something very traumatic. My view on God, spirit, universe is that God is benevolent and loving and caring. And so those bad things that happen, I do not believe that God causes them, um, but God can use them
Mhm,
and help us through them to something bigger and better in
mhm,
the midst of that. I know there are people who believe that everything is God's will, but I have a very hard time, with uh, somebody being hit by a drunk driver being God's will.
mhm,
That anything like that, or cancer is God's will. Um, I think a lot of the problems, even a natural disaster, God created the universe and it works in many and various ways. Yes, but that we get caught in a tornado or earthquake or whatever. Um, I don't think that God wills that bad stuff for us. Um, but there are things that we do as human beings that, if we don't take care of our bodies, if we eat junk food all the time, or uh, do certain things that might predispose us to getting cancer or some other disease. Um, and God can help us through that.
And
So,
actually, I like how you explained it to us, because it's about choices in life.
mhm,
God gave us the free will to choose.
yes.
Now, given the situation, that is on our lap, no? How are we able to make use of that circumstance or that challenge to make us better, become better? That's what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
Like for example, I've gone through so much in my life. Wherein my husband passed away after his second restraining order because of an abusive being uh, uh, due to domestic violence, and
Mm.
then we were blocked. Even my children were blocked by his family because
Mhm.
they blamed me for his death.
Mm.
It was hard for me to believe that is this a punishment because I
Yeah.
love also my husband. But it so happened that later on, it's sad that he passed away. But before that, I was really very submissive, and
Mhm.
because of what happened, it became I became the better version of myself, wherein I became stronger,
Mhm.
more, more. What's this? Resilient,
Mhm.
able to express myself more. uh in our religion, we are the same. Wife should be submissive to the husband. That's why I it lasted for 23 years.
Mhm.
And but it gave me already um an opening for me to choose, would I prefer to stay in that kind of life,
Mhm.
that situation. It was actually my children who saved me.
Mhm.
My daughter initiated the call. My son requested for a 2-year restraining order because I always tell myself that, oh, what will the other people would say, because of fear. That was the expectation by the society. And how
Mhm.
about my vow? So,
Right.
for me, for what happened, that my journey helped me become the better me, the new me.
Mhm.
So I could say that um there's a reason, because when we pray, we always ask God for what we want, but it may not be his plan, right?
Right. Mhm.
So it might be some challenges or struggles that will make us learn new things to develop
Yes.
ourselves. So
Most definitely.
that's the reason why and it's always, the ending is always beautiful. That's what
Mhm.
I've seen. But I agree with you in terms of how you shared the perception, but your perception about that phrase, that
Mhm.
there's a reason behind everything. But I know, with you always engaging with God, me, I have this personal relationship with God. And whenever I pray, Lord, is this plan really meant for me?
Mhm.
And he actually, being a life coach, a lot of people were against me being a life coach. But I
Mhm.
kept asking him, please lead me the way if this is meant for me. If you want
Mhm.
me to share this message to other
Right.
people who are
Right.
struggling. So I know that he has great plans for me, and that's our mission to accomplish.
Right. Right. And sometimes, when we have a physical wound or go through surgery or something like that, there's a scar there
Oh yes,
afterwards. And um, that's, I mean, we can see it as ugly, we can see it as a blemish in some way, or we can see it as the process of healing.
yes,
And something better has come from that.
yes.
And yes, we can remember the situation, but we can, that scar tells us this moving forward.
Yes.
not staying in the past and moving forward to something new and different. And, you know, there are many times for people, the things that hurt us can make us stronger, like you said, and like what you have experienced. And if we are willing to do that and
Yes,
open to that.
yes,
So,
I
yeah,
agree. I
I,
agree.
yeah,
And
I,
yes, I compare or someone asked me, how will you regain that trust if someone, for example, um, uh, it's like cheated you or whatever, no? So it's like comparing a glass which was broken, and it's even though how hard you try to put it back together, there's still a crack, as what you've mentioned.
yeah, right.
But we can put them together using gold. I mean, the gold. There's what is that term in Japan, kigami or something like that, wherein you put them together using gold, and that gold
Mm,
are the lessons learned
mm.
that makes it stronger.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And thinking about that, if I had stayed in that congregation,
Mhm.
um, so much would have been so different. I would not have had the opportunities
Exactly.
that I've had.
See?
And, you know, I left there and a year or so later moved, several hundred miles away with my husband because he was doing some theological study. And, a whole different part of the country, whole different experience, and in many different ways. And that has, changed to uh, places I've gone, things I've studied. I went and studied with the author of this book at times, and yeah, I would never have done that if I'd stayed in that congregation.
See? See, sometimes we feel bad because of
Yeah,
what happened, but God has really great plans for us, a
yeah,
better future.
hmm yeah,
Mhm.
and there's always new opportunities that can
Yes.
come, uh,
And that,
and beautiful opportunities.
yes, as what you've
Yeah,
mentioned, it's
hmm
just the willingness for
yeah,
us to learn something new, go out
hmm
of our comfort zone so that we'll be able to see that opportunities
hmm
uh, at the borderline of your comfort zone. Always, the opportunities are always outside
right,
when you go
right.
out.
Yeah,
So,
I do want to back up one little bit with this because I know that there are some people who experience some really serious trauma.
mhm,
And for those folks, I would say, please go get the help you need to work through that trauma, because then you will be free to do these other things. Without doing the work to really go through that trauma and uh, do the healing from it, uh, that will impact and hold people back from
exactly.
the fullness of what could be.
Yes.
So,
And
yeah.
a help from a coach, from a mentor, from a therapist will be a door opening for you, because most of the
Mhm.
time it's like us using a binocular.
Mhm.
We only focus on what we want to see,
Mhm.
but learning something or hearing the perspective, the other people
Right.
opens us up in terms of how to see life in a different way.
Right.
And yes, we need coaches. We need uh, uh, like a pastor who could give us um, a, 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 better way to understand life, so that
Mhm.
we will be able to see life in a better perspective, in a
Right.
new,
Yeah.
not always putting, blaming us and feeling guilty or being mad to other people. That resentment has to be removed from our system.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. One of the other things that Barry Kaufman says at the very beginning of this book is just a small little quote that's kind of become a mantra for me.
Mhm.
The way we choose to see the world creates the world we see.
Great.
So we get selective vision,
Mhm.
and I smile every time my mom, who's much she's in her 90s by now. Uh, she reads the newspaper and she complains about all the bad news and the terrible things that are in there. And yes, there is a lot of that there,
Mhm.
but she doesn't see the other things that are there because that's what she expects. She expects to see the bad stuff and the
Yeah.
problems and everything. And so, you know, even something as uh, limited as how we read or view or hear the news will pick up on and draw to us the bad things if that's what how we see the world,
Mhm.
and we will totally miss the rest of it.
Exactly. It's all
So,
about what you nurture in our thoughts.
yes,
Yeah.
right,
If
right,
you're focusing or nurturing all negativity, then that will happen. That will
right,
become a reality.
right.
So be careful. Yes, to our listeners, be careful with what we think, because our thoughts becomes feelings, and
Mhm.
these feelings turns into actions.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
uh, yeah. Our thoughts are energy.
Yes,
They have power,
exactly.
and so do our feelings.
Mhm.
So, yeah, be careful with those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I just love exchanging this insights with you. So so do you believe in manifestation?
That's that will be controversial coming from a pastor if I say yes, but in some ways, yes, because like I said, our thoughts are energy.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's been basically proven by I think uh, quantum physics
Mhm.
type of thing, and I've kind of dabbled a little bit in understanding a little bit of that, but to the extent that that's true, yes, we draw things to ourselves, and at least we open ourselves to new possibilities. And in that sense, yes, we can manifest things. Um, you know, to be open to something, uh, if we never expect to receive something, the chances are we're not going to.
Exactly.
Um, it's kind of the same thing. The way we choose to see the world creates the world we see. If we see that, you know, I'm never going to get anything better. I always get crappy bosses. I always have bad experiences with something or another. That's most likely what we will continue to experience. But if we realize and think of God being loving and caring, and that God created the universe and all of creation out of love and grace, um, and people out of love and grace as well, that opens us to the possibilities that are there. So,
Yeah.
in I don't believe in manifestation quite the same way other people do, but
Mm.
yes, I believe in it the way of, we open ourselves to receiving what is possible.
Yes.
Uh, to take off a little bit on that, I was raised with the saying, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And, in the US, most of us have heard that growing up and pushed with that. Um, and it, as a child, it's great as a way of teaching us to share
Yes.
and to be giving to somebody else.
Mhm.
But as an adult, the problem with that is that we can be so focused on giving that we kind of put a hand up to receiving.
Yes. Yes.
And I've had people tell me, oh, don't give me a gift. I don't need anything for Christmas or whatever. And it's really hard to give to those people, to give even love and caring to them. And so to receive blessings or manifestations, we need to be open to receiving.
Yeah. You,
The same thing with gratitude. It's recognizing the gifts that we have been given, which opens us to more.
yes, yes. And I agree with you. When I experienced the trauma in my life, manifestation started coming in because I know God will always be there for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing is impossible with God. Suddenly, when I was when my son asked me if he could go to college because he just graduated from high school when his father passed away,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have any money to I forgot about him because I was focusing on myself. And when I asked him, where would you like to go to college? When he told me, when he asked me, Mommy, can I go to Culinary Institute of America? Knowing that school, it was very expensive, the tuition fee. But you know what? During that time, I was surprised. So I got promoted. I've been applying for 7 years and I got promoted. And then not even applying for that position. I was
Mm-hmm.
contacted. And then
Wow.
suddenly someone advised me, why won't you downsize? I
Mm.
just listened, took that opportunity. I was able to save 50% of my monthly mortgage. Again,
Wow.
unrelated to my son's tuition fee. And then
Mm-hmm.
someone advised me, why won't you try applying for grants and scholarships? I was not
Mm-hmm.
eligible because I'm an employee of an international organization. But I'm happy. I was glad that my son was already a US citizen. So instead of paying 50,000 for his first year's tuition, I only paid 11,000.
Wow.
For me, that's manifestation
Oh,
because
yeah.
it was there. He did
Mm-hmm.
not give me money on a silver platter, but he sent me people to connect with me to give me those advice.
Right. Right.
As what you've mentioned, it's the willingness to accept and be open to
Mm-hmm.
take action after they advised me. Uh,
Right.
it was hard to sell our house. We've created so many memories in that house.
Mm-hmm.
But then what was my dream during that time? It was for my son to finish college.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it's really about the manifestation for me is about really God being there for me,
Right.
believing
Right.
that He is there and
Mm.
believing also in yourself that you
Right.
can do it with God's presence.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when you mention about the giving and receiving, yes, that's a law of circulation. There will be no life if you always give, give, give. And what happens to the vacuum if you
Right.
receive? So we should
Right.
learn to be a gracious receiver as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the truth is, we are always receiving. So many things. The positions we have, the food on our table, the ability to see or hear, or, anything of those kinds of things that we so often take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Though we are the recipients of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so to recognize the that we are receivers and to be grateful for that, not to push it away. In the United States, there's so much this independent spirit, and I can do it myself, and don't fence me in, all of
Mm-hmm.
these old sayings. But even the old cowboy type of mentality, or the pioneer, I can go out and make my own world and make my own way. Frank Sinatra's "I Did It My Way." Yes, but that denies all of the ways in which somebody was helped along the way and received along the way, and without even realizing that that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we realize it and uh, feel okay with what we receive, um, the more there will be to receive.
Yes. That's why when you learn how to be appreciative or be grateful for what you have, you'll feel fuller and you'll feel more abundant.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
everything that happens to you, even though challenges, ups and downs, are
Hmm.
blessings that will
Yeah.
help you become the better version of yourself. Mm.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Yes. So, Kathleen, what's now your plan or your goals for the next 12 months?
That's a good question. um, and I haven't really charted out the next 12 months, but um, it is first and foremost to continue to grow in sharing, understanding and sharing the power of gratitude. I've delved into some things with positive psychology. I am what's called a positive prime professional. I work with an organization called Positive Prime, and that helps people be more positive. And just a little commercial for them. If you go to their website, positiveprime.com, they offer um, what they call a session, and it's a very unique and scientifically done. This is not just somebody's idea, but scientifically done with video and positive statements, where the images, not video, but pictures that are put together, the images and the positive statements, if you go back to the same one a second time, they will be reshuffled in a different order automatically. And watching 3 minutes of one of those sessions um, has, and it's scientifically been proven to have a positive impact on someone for 6 to 8 hours afterwards.
Wow.
So,
Great.
so that, that is huge. And to be able to go and do that, and I can uh, I have a link that I can
Okay, please.
share with you
Yes.
for 10, what is it? 10 weeks? No, 10 days. I think it's 10 days free to use
Okay.
that. And it is an affiliate link, so people need to know that. So you'd have to put in a credit card, and if you don't want to continue, there's no charge. But if you continue, it's like $19 a month, $20 a month.
Mm.
But if you pay annually, it's $200, so you get 2 months free.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's nice.
and there's some additional benefits to paying annually
Mm.
and being a member like that. But anyway, it's a powerful tool for people to add more positivity. But the other thing I'd like to do is talk more about gratitude in faith communities and in businesses, to consciously bring gratitude into organizations
Mhm.
um, like that. And it it needs to start with the people at the top,
Exactly.
because people who are employees at a lower level will be very reluctant to do things of gratitude if the people up above them are not on board with that and
Mhm.
practicing it themselves. So, so it
Because the
has to,
employees, the staff could feel it, could
yeah,
feel the managers or supervisors, how they
right,
treat other people, right?
right. And there's demonstrated proof that having more gratitude in a corporation or an organization, there's greater retention of good
Mhm.
staff.
Yes.
The working environment's better. There's more creativity. Uh, there's better teamwork.
Teamwork, yes.
All kinds of things that go in with that. So, you can't necessarily put a dollar sign on, you know, quantify it as well. But if you got a good employee, a great employee, keeping that person is really, really valuable. Instead of having to find another person to fill a position, training them,
Mhm.
the time to get
So
them on
much
board
time and
up
energy.
to up to speed and things like that. That's very costly.
Mhm.
And so anything to make to show people that they're appreciated and valued, heard, and very much a part of the organization is so very, very important. And so, yeah, I would love to share more about that and ways to incorporate gratitude
Yeah.
into organizations. And there's some very simple ways to do that.
Mhm.
So
So you're more looking for speaking engagements, or do you have coaching sessions?
I'm looking for speaking engagements, and I'm actually looking to start a mastermind group for women of faith and leadership, so that to work together as a team in a mastermind um, to for them to bring these things into their organization and to
Great.
strengthen them in that group, in that team.
Great.
So
It makes a
that's my
difference.
dream. Yeah.
So when are you planning? So is that within
uh,
12 months?
the mastermind, yeah, that it could start as early as this fall. So
Great. Mhm.
if I get people who say, yeah, I'm in, I would want to limit the size of the group, but to maybe 10 or so, 8 to 10 people. So once
It
I get
makes a difference
a
if
few,
it's a small, intimate group. It's a
right,
safe place.
right.
My Dream to Rise Inner Circle, that's my mastermind group. We meet every Monday, and it's I am so it gives me so much joy to see them really shine, rise and
Hmm.
shine, really being able to make their dreams a reality. That's
Right.
what
Hmm.
I'm hoping for. So what do
Hmm.
you think would be the major roadblock for you achieving your goal?
Um, Me. uh, in all honesty, I do have some responsibilities in taking care of my mom, and I do still work with um, the congregation that my husband and I used to pastor. I'm still in that area, and they are between pastors, so there's the possibility I'll be doing some work and time commitment with them. So those are uh, two significant things. So family issues and
Mhm.
working with this other congregation. But a mastermind group can work in that, and a couple of speaking engagements too.
Yes.
So
So it's
yeah,
possible, right?
it's possible. Yeah,
It's possible.
yeah,
So what will is there any a simple advice which you could share with our listeners?
yes. Start with gratitude every single day.
Mhm.
Whether you do it in the morning, at noon, uh, my practice is at the end of the day to go to sleep of listing at least 10 things I'm grateful for every day. So if you can't come up with 10, at least challenge yourself to find 3 unique things
Mhm.
to start with that you're grateful every single day. And I hope that soon I will have on my website like a complimentary small gratitude journal that people can download. I mean, you can use the, your computer, you can use a small notebook, anything like that. But I like things that are just dedicated for that, that are a place I can go and maybe has something nice along with it. So the complimentary one will have some quotes from scripture and some quotes, other positive quotes from people.
And
So with it. So
very good. That's what we need this
yeah.
at this day at this time of the because a lot of things chaos are showing up, a lot of negativity, a lot of wars, division, and hatred. If only we are
Yeah.
able to see or appreciate the things that we have and not complain of what we don't have, because
Hmm.
most of the time we always focus on the lack
Hmm.
rather than focusing on what we have.
Right.
Only we could do that, I'm sure peace, love, compassion, and kindness will prevail here on earth.
Right. Yeah. This the political climate and other things. It's not just politics. There's so much uh, that pushes people towards fear,
Yes.
and there are two things that combat fear very well. One is moving, doing something positive.
Mhm.
Um, One of my mentors says, "Fear hates movement." So do something
Mhm.
uh, positive with it. And gratitude is a great thing to do that.
Mhm.
Um, to, you know, it's hard to be afraid when we see positive things and when we focus on the positive.
Yeah.
So even with situations in the country, situations around the world, situations in our personal lives, um, you know, focus on the gratitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. I totally agree with you. So thank you so much, Kathleen, for being here with us, and it's an honor to have you. Such inspiring words which you have just shared to our listeners, and I'm sure they got inspired
Thank
by
you.
by your
Thank you so
message.
much for the opportunity, Cynthia. It's been
Oh,
marvelous to be with you.
same here. I truly enjoyed your company. And you know what? Kathleen was there for me when I was there was a problem in my life. And I truly appreciate you, Kathleen, for being there with me. We should have done this interview a week or 2 weeks ago, but then she was so patient, giving me so much, consoled me during my time when I was down, and I'm truly grateful for your kindness, for your compassion and love,
You're
and
very
that's what we
welcome.
need.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
what we need here on earth. So
Yes.
thank you again. And how will they be able to connect with you?
Um, my website is Kathleen. That's my first name. Kathleen, the letter A, and then my last name, Panning. P is in Peter Piper picking a peck. ANNING.com. That's the quickest way to get in touch with me. Um, and then the email that's probably the best one is my first name again, Kathleen, dot retired with purpose, all spelled out, at gmail.com.
Mhm. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you need to get in touch with Kathleen, if you're in an organization and if you need to promote positivity within your department, please get in touch with Kathleen. Okay, again, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Kathleen, for being
Thank you.
here. And I wish you all the best. And let's get connected again. Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you and bye. To our listeners, watch out for our next episode. Bye.